Welcome to Seva Food Bank cooking show. My name is Chef Borgi and we are making pasta today, tuna pasta. Here's my assistant.
Hi everyone, I'm Rashida. I'm staff here at Seva Food Bank and today we're making one of my family faves, tuna and chickpea pasta. Well, first of all, I'm putting the pasta water on to boil. I've added some salt to it. It's coming to the boil now. When the water's, it's almost full, about 2/3, 3/4 full. And when it's come to the boil like that, that's when I will put it on medium simmer. And that's when we start prepping the ingredients. It's a very quick, easy recipe to make. You start with, I think you're going to be squashing garlic.
Yes, that's
and
what
I'll
I'm
be
good
chopping
at.
onions.
Is there anything in the water?
Yes, we put some 1.5, 2 teaspoons of salt in the water, depending on the size of your pan.
Okay.
The idea behind the salt, of course, flavor the pasta, make sure it doesn't taste like we missed something. And most of the water gets poured off anyway, so don't worry, there's not a lot of salt in the recipe, but it does add to it.
Many people make a mistake and they put oil into the water. So I just want to say that oil in the pasta water, you shouldn't do that, because if you put like a sauce or whatever on the pasta after, it won't stick on the pasta because the oil makes everything run off. So if you want to put some oil on, put it after.
You can use any kind of pasta. We used to use shell pasta, but this is macaroni, it's just as fine. Your kids might like the curly pasta, that's totally cool. So we're just going to add this in. So Chef let me cut the onion today, very kind of her.
I was crying for the last one, thank you very much.
Yeah, so far so good. I'm not crying yet into the onions. The diced red onion here, so it already looks, I have a real joy in raw ingredients. They look so pretty when you're working with them. On the subject of garlic, I also want to say that at home, I don't always have fresh garlic. So I always have a little jar of puree in the fridge, and if I run out of puree and I don't want fresh garlic, I also have garlic granules or garlic powder. And honestly, to me and my family, who don't have very evolved taste buds, we just enjoy a good meal. You can use whatever is convenient. And some people actually don't like garlic at all.
Well, it's not good for the intestine.
Exactly. And it does have a strong smell. Some of us love it, and some of us could do without it.
Yeah.
Smells so good. Well, then I like the smell of garlic and onion frying. There's actually nothing nicer in my opinion. So if you can get really comfortable with, recipes with a garlic onion base, there's a lot of soups and casseroles that are made with that. And honestly, it makes really, really amazing. Chickpeas, as you know, when they come to you from in the food bank, they will come to you in possibly 2 separate forms. So either they'll be canned chickpeas, which are perfectly fine. You rinse them off, you wash them in the tap, and you strain them, and you can literally go straight into the pan. A lot of people prefer dried chickpeas. I do myself at home prefer dried chickpeas. They work out a little bit cheaper, and you can control the amount of salt content. So we have soaked some chickpeas the night before. We soaked them overnight in a fairly large amount of water. They'll end up looking nice and plump. Then you'll cook them in salted water, much like what you're doing with the pasta, for half an hour, 40 minutes.
Please,
So the next step is to probably put in the chickpeas. I usually put in the chickpeas first because they take a little longer to cook through. Well, we're not cooking the heat through. They just want to be warm. And then we can add the tuna afterwards. When you get canned tuna at home from the food bank or from any other source, or if you choose to buy it, you will find that there is tuna that comes already separated, so it's like a mince, kind of like what you see here. There's also chunk tuna, which comes like in chunks. And if I have a choice, I get the chunk tuna because it's more meaty kind of thing. So that's what ends up showing up as chunks in the pasta at the end of the day. And substitution is not something to be afraid of. At the end of the day, whatever makes it taste good and taste as you go is what I would say. So the way to taste safely, so you don't contaminate the dish, a little bit on your need salt.
You can have a different way of zesting your lemons. You have to be careful because a lemon has that whitish on the inside, and that becomes bitter if you take off too much.
Okay.
So what you need to do if you don't have one of those, you just take it out.
Yeah. And then chop.
Chop it and add it to it.
Okay.
So we are lucky enough
Oh, we have a fine
at
grater
Seva
there.
Food Bank that we have everything here. So we have a nice grater.
Yeah.
You also want to have the juice too, isn't it? From the lemon, or just the zest?
We will have the juice too at the end. Yes.
Yeah.
We turn it off. We take it over to the sink. Put a pan under the pot, under the colander, to catch the juices that the pasta has been boiling in. One of the cardinal things that apparently all Italian chefs do, that is an unwritten rule, is always retain the cooking water for the pasta, because they always use it to adjust the moisture content in the pasta after the fact. Plus it makes it taste great for some reason. The original recipe calls for capers, which are very specific. There are pickles that come in a little jar, and they're not widely available. So they're unlikely to come to you in a food bank hamper. However, like I keep saying, there's lots of options for substitutions. The objective of these things is to enhance the flavor. So we can add salted olives chopped up like this.
You can also, I love olives. You can also use pickles if you really wanted to, or you use peppers, in your
Pickles,
house,
peppers.
anything pickles.
Oh yeah, the spicy jalapenos that come pickled.
Yeah.
Oh, those would be amazing. And yes, absolutely. So we're gonna put some of these chopped up olives in here.
There's another way if you don't have one of those squeezy things or lemon squeezer, juicer. You can put your knife in here and hold it and squeeze it. You see how it goes down, how nicely it goes down? And before you use your lemon, roll it a few times on the table because you soften it really, the juice comes really nicely out of the lemon. You see how nicely that is?
That's lovely.
Okay.
I think I might try that next.
Yeah.
Let's put some of more of the pasta water. Again, it's getting a little dry, so you want to maintain that moistness. When you add the pasta to it, then it should look nice and glossy. It shouldn't look like it's dry, because that's not going to be appetizing.
So the parsley, you're not really putting it into the...
No, it doesn't
You just
need to
put
cook.
it on top of.
You're right,
for
but
the-
it doesn't
for the
need
cardamom.
to cook. I do usually mix some in
Yeah.
to the pasta.
Yeah.
It does add to the freshness of the overall dish, but it doesn't need to cook.
Yeah.
It just needs to amalgamate and the flavors start coming out.
Yeah.
So you'll see it's nice and moist, but what tends to happen with most pasta recipes, I find, is that they get drier as they sit. So if there's going to be a time lag between you're making the dish and serving it, it makes sense to have some of this. I actually have been known to take this to family get-togethers and take a jar of pasta water with me. And when we're serving it, I'm pouring it in, and they're like, "What's that?" It's like, "It's a secret sauce."
ingredient.
Yes,
Yeah.
the secret ingredient. And I stick it in there, and then it almost tastes and feels like you've literally just made it. If it's, obviously if it's hot enough. So